Check it, 1, 2. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the People's House. We are calling this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? I'm sorry, no, this is not a work session. If you will, let's pause for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I'll now pass it over to Councilmember Freeman for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. It's our practice to stand, to salute, and pledge to allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor Williams,
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton,
I'm here.
Councilmember Baker,
Here.
Councilmember Caballero,
Here.
Councilmember Cook,
Here.
Councilmember Freeman,
Present.
and Councilmember Rist.
Here. All right, we have one ceremonial item tonight, and I'll pass that over to Councilmember Cook. So we have a proclamation for World AIDS Day. Do we have any representatives in the audience? Yep.
Hi, please come up. Sorry, I didn't have my... Thank you. Okay. Proclamation. Durham is committed to health equity and dignity of all residents, recognizing that access to health care and stable housing are fundamental human rights, and whereas we observe World AIDS Day on December 1st, 2024, and Durham ranks 4th among North Carolina counties with over 1,900 residents living with HIV, and whereas racial inequities persist, with African American Durham residents being 6 times more likely to acquire HIV compared with white residents, and Hispanic residents being 3 times more likely to acquire HIV than white residents. And whereas stable housing is a critical healthcare intervention, with housing security directly linked to medication adherence and viral suppression. And whereas 21.7% of people living with HIV in North Carolina report being homeless or unstably housed, and Durham strives to eliminate racial and ethnic disparities through coordinated medical services, affordable housing, and community support. Now, therefore, I, Leonardo Williams, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim December 1st, 2024 as World AIDS Day in Durham, and urge all citizens to observe this day by getting tested and learning how to support end HIV endemic in Durham. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this the 2nd day of December 2024. Okay, so this is the coalition to end the HIV epidemic in Durham. And do you have a few words?
Yes, I do.
you.
Thank you so much. My name is Haley Cunningham. I'm an infectious diseases physician caring for patients living with HIV. Today, I speak on behalf of the Coalition to End the HIV Epidemic in Durham. While there's not yet a cure for HIV, if diagnosed and treated early, people can live long, healthy lives with taking just 1 pill a day or an injection every 2 months. Treatment is so effective that most people with HIV will become undetectable and it cannot be transmitted to others. We have excellent medication access programs to make these treatments affordable. Despite this, many Durham residents living with HIV are not getting appropriate treatment due to discrimination, stigma, and a lack of transportation and affordable housing. Despite having the ability to prescribe life-saving treatments, too many of my patients, some less than 30 years old, are still dying of AIDS. Being homeless at the time of HIV diagnosis is associated with a 27-fold higher odds of death compared to those with stable housing. Multiple studies have shown that providing stable housing improves treatment efficacy and the lives of those living with HIV. While there are many local organizations doing their best to provide support services, these organizations are struggling financially, beds remain empty, and people living with HIV remain unhoused. To date, these organizations have done their work in silos, making it even more difficult to achieve their mission. To improve housing and other support services for people living with HIV, we formed the Coalition to End the HIV Epidemic in Durham. In the fall of 2023, the coalition applied for a HOPWA HINT grant, which would have allocated $2.5 million to create a system of care for homeless and unstably housed people living with HIV in Durham County. Coalition members approached the City of Durham requesting simply a letter of support for the grant application, but we were denied the support and subsequently the grant funding. On April 15th, the coalition members attended the Durham City Council public hearing, during which the City Council accepted over $1 million in HOPWA funds. Coalition members urged the City Council to make housing and supportive services for people living with HIV a top priority and requested the HOPWA funds be channeled to existing organizations in the coalition to ensure effective utilization of funding. Instead, local organizations continue to struggle financially and HOPWA funding goes unutilized. This World AIDS Day, the Coalition to End the HIV Epidemic in Durham invites you to join our fight for equitable housing and to improve the system of care for people living with HIV. In honor of the late Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.,
Recording in progress.
the coalition will host a community event on MLK Day, January 20th at First Presbyterian Church following their 3 p.m. ceremony. The event will highlight Durham organizations providing essential support services in our community and will present the coalition's strategic plan to improve the HIV system of care. We invite all City Council members to join us for the event, and we again request financial support and partnership. We ask that you consult the coalition in drafting the 2025 strategic plan and that sufficient funding be allocated to existing Durham organizations serving those living with HIV. Thank you all so much for this proclamation and for your attention.
Thank you so much. Let's give them another hand for the work that they're doing. All right, and I'll keep the mic on Councilmember Cook for any announcements.
Good evening, everyone. As always, welcome to the folks who are here in person, those watching online, anyone who chooses to watch us afterwards at multiple times the speed, never a bad idea either. We are coming back after the holidays. I'm going to be really brief. I'm just going to say that I hope everyone had a nice time with family or with friends or however you chose to spend that time. For me, it's always an interesting reflection, and particularly holding this seat now, of how governments are able, or how much power governments have, I guess, to change narratives. Thanksgiving, there's some debate about the origin of that story, but almost certainly it was tied to a horrific event in which settlers killed something between 400 and 700 indigenous persons in one single community within an hour. So a horrendous action, and then there was a celebration afterwards, Thanksgiving, for the lack of, I guess, a threat from the peoples that they had very, very intentionally and in graphic, horrible ways killed entire families, children in their homes, horrible things. So I think about this a lot because obviously that's not what this holiday has come to represent for us now, but it is the origin of that holiday, and I think that there's a lot of conversation about what that means, what it means for Indigenous people to have that as a federally recognized holiday, and just how lost that message gets as we talk about
instead what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for. And I love that there's space carved out for those things too, and I have so many things for which I am thankful in my life, and I'm also grateful for the opportunity to see my family and get to spend some time away from work. Just a reminder of what government can do, and also the power that we have to shape things in a better and more fair light as well. So thank you, and I will yield.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Baker?
I just wanted to acknowledge the busing issue, the school buses with Durham Public Schools. We've been hearing from a lot of people who have been reaching out, asking us about that issue. Obviously, in Durham, we have 3 major jurisdictions: the City Council, County Commission, and Durham Public Schools with the Durham Public School Board. It's easy to become siloed, but it's important that we all consistently work together as interjurisdictional partners. I also think the Durham Public Schools is going on has a bus driver shortage, is going on a 4-day rotation schedule. And as always, the burden will fall most heavily on poorer families. I think it's important, I think it's interesting to point out a few different aspects of this. First, there's an urgency behind Durham Public Schools being able to hire additional drivers so that they can cover all of the necessary routes again. I also think that this issue and this urgency points to the ongoing dismantling and defunding by the state legislature of the public school system statewide, and some of the crises that we see and end up seeing at the local level, and the different ways and forms that it shows itself. The other issue that's related to that is the defunding and understaffing of the DMV. And the prolonged process that it takes for Durham Public Schools to be able to actually hire drivers because of how long it takes to license those drivers because of state defunding and understaffing of the DMV. And then finally, I think there are some direct connections to the city. The city continues to offer fare-free buses, which is such an important and critical service that we offer. We will have an opportunity to invest in fare-free transit in the next budget. And I think lastly, it speaks to maybe a long-term vision of a city that is more walkable, that is more transit-friendly, and that creates more transportation opportunities for everyone who lives here. And that's not something that can change today or tomorrow, but something that we can plan for in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And so I think that's a direct connection. We talk a lot about the sustainability and equity aspects of walkability. I think there's also the resilience aspect of when things happen that we can't account for always, that we are able to bounce back as a community. So we will, and I would hope that we would, in addition to offering free buses, also offer whatever we can to our jurisdictional partners whenever they do face some sort of crisis. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Caballero.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a good few days off. I know a lot of our city workers were able to take Thursday and Friday off, and that's always a nice thing to be able to offer folks who work for the city. I just wanted to shout out our brand new, or not all brand new, but 5 newly sworn in county commissioners. Myself and Councilmember Rist were there this morning at their swearing in. All 5 county commissioners, which is a little different than both the school board and city council. They all go up for election at the same time. It's always during a presidential year. And so all 5 folks were sworn in this morning at 9. It was a big day in Durham. They are our other very, close governing partner. And so I look forward to working with our 5 county commissioners. And I have to say, seeing the diversity of that group was a good reminder and a hopeful reminder that Durham is a very special place. And while some things are trending nationally, that trend is not what we're seing here. And so I was really proud of Durham residents this morning. Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I want to just piggyback on that and say congratulations as well to the new county commissioners, and then also just offer a thanks to the county commissioners that rotated off. I know I had a chance to sit in for their last meeting, and I do want to say a hearty thanks for your service to Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Howerton, and Commissioner Carter for their service over the years. I also just want to make sure I do thank, I know they left, Dr. Haley Cunningham, I want to say, and appreciate the coalition's steadfast focus on those folks who are marginalized in our community, and just offer, support in advance, just acknowledging that our HOPWAR dollars could be used to support the housing for those folks. And then I did want to just take a moment and thank Councilmember Caballero for pulling together the stakeholders for downtown Durham businesses and the Police District 5 area. And then I did want to just offer an update and say, or to share, that I had a chance to speak with the co-facilitator for the PAC in District 5, and she shared that their next meeting will be in January, and I want to make sure that those folks who were at that meeting know that that meeting will be at the Refiners Fire Church, which is 1003 East Main Street on January 25th, 2025, and that's a Saturday, and it's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and that is the fourth Saturday of every month. I know I said it a few times. I just wanted to make sure I said it from the dais as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rist.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Madam City Manager, colleagues, staff, residents here in the room, and those joining us online. Good evening. Hope everyone did have a restful and enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday. Just a couple of items for me. First of all, speaking of Thanksgiving, I wanted to give a big shout out to Meals on Wheels. They delivered over 450 meals on Thanksgiving morning. I had the chance to deliver meals with them. It's always a lot of fun to be out there delivering meals and giving back to people and to make sure they feel loved and appreciated on Thanksgiving especially. Big shout out to my new buddy Ingrid, who I delivered a meal to. 90-year-old Ingrid, born in Berlin, Germany. We had a chance to chat a little German, Mr. Mayor, for a little bit while I dropped off the meal, so that made my day on Thanksgiving. It was wonderful to see Ingrid. On the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I also had a chance to visit or attend the Reality Ministries talent show. I hope folks have had a chance to see the talent show. It's such an amazing event. For those who don't know, Reality Ministries' mission is to connect people with and without developmental disabilities and authentic relationships. Because the reality is that for too many people with developmental disabilities, loneliness and isolation are typically the norm. So you can imagine the talent show is a complete celebration of joy and silliness to a packed audience in D-Packed, literally a packed house there. So, Mr. Mayor, Durham is dope, but so is Reality Ministries, actually. I also want to give a special shout out to Susan and Jeff McSwain, who were the founders and still run Reality Ministries. Jeff McSwain, I met him on the first day of my freshman year, right around the corner from my freshman hall. We've been friends ever since. So I'm so amazed by their leadership of Reality Ministries and the work they do with folks with developmental disabilities in Durham. So big shout out to them. Finally, as my colleague, Councilmember Freeman noted, I want to thank the over 200 residents that came today, right? So residents, business owners, city staff, as well as county staff. That includes the sheriff and the police department represented there. Elected officials as well. It was an important gathering to share concerns about safety and security in downtown Durham. And I think that kind of conversation, all one conversation where we can get together and share concerns and respond to those in one big conversation is the best place to start. We've got to continue working to make sure downtown Durham is a secure and safe place where all can thrive, businesses can thrive, and we can be proud of it as a community. So I look forward to working with my colleagues here on the council, county commissioners and others to make sure we ensure that safety and security in downtown Durham. Thank you all, and I yield.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, sir. Good evening, honorable colleagues, all in chamber this evening and watching on whatever platform you may be watching. I want to thank my colleagues for some really excellent announcements tonight. I associate myself with all of them. I'm glad to be in league on this dais, but I'm also proud just as a resident and a citizen of the city to have you folk doing the good work you do on our behalf. I want to send holiday greetings out to all of the residents of our city, and I echo my colleague's sentiment that I hope these past few days have been restful and enjoyable. To all of our residents who are started Advent this past weekend, who are preparing for Hanukkah, who are looking forward to winter solstice, who are looking forward to Kwanzaa, whatever you may be celebrating or not celebrating, there is a recurring theme that crosses lines during the season of light conquering darkness and light being shown through darkness. And I think that's an appropriate place for us to rest in this season in our city, in our nation. My hope is that light will continue to conquer darkness and Durham will continue to lead the way. So happy holiday season to all of our residents and citizens. Let me add my also word of congratulations to our new colleagues at the county who were sworn in today. I echo again the sentiments of my colleagues. I'm looking forward to partnering with them to continuing the rich and deep and substantive partnership that the city maintains with the county, whether it's on gang reduction, mental health initiatives, or violence reduction. So goodwill and best wishes out to the new colleagues, to Chair Alam and her team. Congratulations on her reelection as chair, and we're looking forward to a great partnership.
The new Vice Chair Lee, right?
But that's Vice Chair Lee, absolutely. Shout out. Thank you. Finally, condolences to the family. Just before Thanksgiving, gunfire once again rang out in our city, and we lost a resident to gunfire. So it was a very, very asterisk-based celebration for at least one family in Durham this past holiday weekend. We continue to let residents know there's not a day that goes by that the mayor and I don't have a conversation about violence in this city and what we can do to stem it. And I know everyone on this day it's for in our minds every day. And we continue to put an asterisk next to our celebration, no matter how tall our buildings get, how noted our restaurants get, what's coming to DPAC, the celebration will always be muted when less than 2 miles from our city center, there are children jumping in bathtubs at night when it's not bath time because gunfire is ringing out in their community. So our hearts go out to that family, and the entire city's heart beats for that family tonight. Happy holidays. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield back.
Thank you all so much. We're going to get to it. I have short remarks. First, I would like to make a very important announcement to the council that I bought candy for everyone. This is orange flavored Lifesavers, and they're really, really good. So, and it is accessible to the public as well if y'all want a piece of candy after the meeting. But happy holidays to everyone. I'm one of those Thanksgiving babies, so I celebrated eating a lot of food on Thanksgiving Day, where my birthday was also on that day. So the thing that's special about us Thanksgiving babies is everyone thinks about the food at Thanksgiving and not us. But I did get quite a few notes of happy birthday, so thank you all for that. I too want to thank my colleagues, led by Councilmember Caballero, of pulling over 200 business owners together. They are residents, they are business owners, they're concerned citizens and residents of this community about, just matters in the downtown region and throughout the city, and I just appreciate it. Today I was able to stand back and listen more than talk, and it felt good to see our council at work, standing around the room, facilitating the conversation, listening, and really digging into having some pretty intense conversation with folks directly. So I appreciated that. Colleagues, thank you all for being there, and thanks for doing that. That's the good work. I want to congratulate as well our county colleagues. I could not make it to the swearing in, but I did make it to the celebration afterward where the food was. And unfortunately, I was in meetings as well, but congratulations to our colleagues. Chair Alam and I, we speak often. She's texting me and beating me up about stuff, but she's a good friend, and I'm really excited for her leadership and her leading her new team over there. Really excited about Vice Chair Lee coming in. He and I have a special connection. We were both drum majors in college in the marching band, and we're both Kappa Kappa Psi, the band fraternity. So we're band heads, and I'm excited to have another band head in the rim who's a drum major as well. I just got here from speaking to a group of young boys and girls of multiple mentoring groups. It was quite the collaborative. And these mentors have footed the bill to take about 50 young people to Kentucky, to the Muhammad Ali Museum, and to a Rumble Boy Rumble event. It's a big national event. And we have 50 young boys and girls who are headed to this event. The trip is nice and everything. I'm glad they're going. But the most impressive thing was I shook every last one of their hands, and they all looked me right in the eyes with a firm handshake and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Mayor." And he was just so professional. And that's who represents our city. That's who represents Durham. And those kids were all black. And so, you know, when there are certain narratives that are spoken about our community, as I said before, we won't be defined by just our challenges. I just saw 50 reasons why Durham is so dope. And they're getting on the road, and they're about to fly over to Kentucky, and they are going to have the time of their lives. And they're not just going to this event. They are going as a collaborative to show the good work that's happening in Durham. So that is why this Bull City Future Fund, I want everybody to go and donate to it, because that money goes directly. There's no interest. There's no money going elsewhere. It's going directly to those kids and organizations like that. So we're going to raise $1 million to make sure that those folks don't have to foot the bill out of their own pocket. One of the mentors actually was short on their rent to pay for some of those kids to go on that trip. And we want kids across this community to be able to travel out of the state and out of the country, and they should be able to go and see beyond just the blocks that they live on. And we can do that. We have over 300,000 people in this community. We should be able to do that. So $1 million should be able to be raised easily, and it's going to be directly invested back to organizations that are doing that type of work. We choose the type of seeds that we want to grow and nurture. Let those kids become beautiful flowers in our community. They represent us. So with that being said, thank you all for your comments and remarks tonight, and we are going to get to the business. All right, Madam Manager, is on you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Durham City Council. I have a couple of priority items for you this evening. Agenda item number 21, 2024 third quarter crime report. The additional information requested during the November 21st, 2024 City Council work session has been attached. Additional information regarding revisions to deer bow hunting ordinance has been added under priority items by the city manager, city attorney, and city clerk. That is all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. The City Attorney's Office has no priority items this evening.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and members of City Council. The City Clerk's office has no priority items.
Thank you. I do have one additional request. I need to have an excused absence for Thursday, and I failed to mention that. So if someone would make a motion.
Move to excuse.
Second.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, can you facilitate that?
Madam Clerk, would you please, have a motion and a proper second to excuse the mayor on Thursday, Thursday's work session. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote? Please close the vote and report out.
And the motion passes unanimously.
You are excused.
Thank you. I feel like, you know, when I ask for an excused absence and it's unanimous, I feel like you guys want to get rid of me. But no, thank you all, and I apologize. Everyone is talking weird because I now passed candy around the dais, and everyone has candy in their mouths. All right, and here comes the consent agenda. This is going to be a funny meeting because I just tried to take candy out of my mouth, and I'm noticing the camera was still on me, so I apologize to everyone watching online. This is not normal. And we have guests tonight, and I know y'all are like, what is going on with the city council? So just making light of the situation. Thank y'all for being here. Item number 1 on the consent agenda, Durham Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission appointment. Item number 3, approval of city council minutes. Item number 4, could you remind me which ones are pulled? That's item number 6. And number 5, is it? Resource. Okay, what about number 29? Okay, that's the presentation, right? Public hearing, okay.
Only one is pulled. All of
And
those
that's,
are resources.
and that's the public hearing, right?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Cool deal. All right, number 5, appointments and reappointment to the Civilian Police Review Board. Number 6, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA project, Fayetteville Street Corridor Planning and Infrastructure Community Assistance Initiative. Number 7, First Amendment to American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA project, Multifamily Support and Supply, Mass. Durham Community Land Trustees Incorporated, subrecipient grant agreement. Number 8, First Amendment to American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA project, Durham Affordable Sustainable Homes Dash. Durham Community Land Trustees Incorporated, subrecipient grant agreement. Number 9, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA interlocal agreement with Durham County to support digital equity efforts. Number 10, Historic Preservation Fund grant project ordinance. Number 11, contract renewal for fiscal year 25. City of Durham Domestic Violence and Gang Reduction Agreement with North Carolina Administrative Offices, Office of the Courts. Number 12, approved data use agreement between the City of Durham and Harvard Kennedy School. Number 14, interlocal agreement with Durham City for joint funding of the Low-Income Homeowners Relief Program. Number 15, cooperative group purchase contract, sewer vac truck. Number 16, condemnation action to obtain 1 easement at 1025 9th Street for the West Club Boulevard Utility Rehabilitation and Replacement Project. Number 17, condemnation action to obtain 1 area of fee simple and 1 easement at 407 Marine Road for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements Project, SW47. Number 18, condemnation action to obtain 1 area of fee simple and 1 easement at 929 Marine Road, SW47. Number 19, resolution accepting the United States Department of Energy, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Formula Funding. Number 21, 2024 third quarter crime report. Number 22, street and utility acceptances. 23, amendment number 2 to professional engineering services contract number 15462 with DeBerry Engineers Incorporated for the West Club Boulevard Corridor Utility Rehabilitation Project. Number 24, construction award to Moffett Pipe Incorporated for the West Club Boulevard Corridor Utility Rehabilitation and Replacement Project. Number 25, a resolution to authorize an application for Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Emerging Contaminants Study Grant Funding. Number 26, Amendment 1 to the professional services contract with McKim and Creed Incorporated for the North Carolina 751 sewer outfall improvements. Number 32, authorization for loan assignment for Crescent Acquisitions LLC for the development of Sandy Ridge Villas. Number 28, zoning map change, Vivo Living Ivy Creek, which we're here tonight. 29, zoning map change, Hillsborough Road Commercial. Number 30, statutory vested rights determination, Davis Park, Pod G, 31st Street closing, permanent closing of 2,899 square feet of Victory Lane. Excluding our public hearings, that is our consent agenda.
Vote to adopt consent.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded to adopt the consent agenda as read.
Mr. Mayor, item 6 was requested to be pulled.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Is it a resource or? Okay. All right. So colleagues, I do need to,
Exception of 6.
I need to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of number 6.
So moved.
Move to state it. Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote. All right.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We'll now start at number 6. The item was pulled by Asim Inshira. Yeah, right up here. Good to see you. Okay, got you. Colleagues, I'm going to entertain a motion. Thank you for that. Entertain a motion. This item was pulled as just a resource. So I entertain a motion to, entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an ARPA subrecipient grant agreement with Fayetteville Street Planning Group, Incorporated, a United Way of the Greater Triangle, in an amount not to exceed $1 million.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to that good work. All right, let's get down to it. We have public hearings. We're ready for the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and honorable council members. I'm Aaron Kane with the Planning Department. I'm happy to be here with you tonight.
This is item 28.
Yes. Before I begin, staff would like to state for the record that all Planning Department hearing items have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and all affidavits of notices are on file in the Planning Department. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Tarek Sher for one parcel of land totaling 3.59 acres and located at 1920 Ivy Creek Boulevard. The current zoning is commercial general with a development plan and office and institutional with a development plan. The applicant proposes to change this designation to Planned Development Residential 35.654. The applicant is proposing to rezone the properties to allow for a conversion of an existing vacant hotel to 128 apartments. The property is currently designated Transit Opportunity Area and Recreation and Open Space on the place type map. The proposed PDR 35.654 zoning is generally consistent with the TOA place type, as it increases the density and introduces residential uses in an area where the adjacent primary uses are office and commercial. The portions of the parcels that are designated ROS are minimal and on the western portion of the site that is currently a natural area. Thank you, and the applicant is available on Zoom to answer any questions.
Thank you. You've heard the staff report. Are there any questions? Councilmember Cook or anyone? You said the applicant is online?
I believe, yes, Tarek Sher, I believe, is online. I'm going to be moving the slides for him.
Okay, all right. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. Can you hear me?
We can. It's good to.
Excellent.
Let's go.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. My name is Tarek Shire, applicant for Vivo Living, the owner of the property. I do want to apologize sincerely for not being there in person. I had a prior trip with my family to spend Thanksgiving away in Japan, and we arrived very late last night and frankly could not make any connection to be there in time with you. So my sincerest apologies. Please do not read too much into it. I would have rather presented this in person than be on Zoom. So, and my colleagues are joining me also by Zoom. They're listening and watching. So thank you for taking the time. And before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to recognize the proclamation for AIDS Day today by the City Council and the Mayor, and really appreciate you doing that for naming the unhoused and unstably housed, which we support fully. And this is one of the reasons why we do what we do, that is to provide housing that's much needed in different cities, including Durham. That said, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to briefly present this project. As you all know, we came before you last month and we presented a similar project. And Aaron, if you don't mind going on the first slide and moving to the next slide. We are committed to the city of Durham. We have other projects. I don't want to go through them again in the interest of time and respecting your time and the public's time. And the third slide is our project with the asterisk there. It's the third one, number 3, Vivo Living Ivy Creek at 1920 Ivy Creek Boulevard. It's 128 units. I'm going to skip through slide 4 and 5 because we presented them last time. And I want to go to 6 and just mention one more time the reason we like and are committed to our program is it helps convert either underutilized hotel properties or poorly managed hotel properties into lively multifamily housing. And it really helps provide attainable housing and then reduce carbon footprint because we're not building from ground up, we're maintaining the same structure. The 7th slide is really showing our commitment to the city. We have been committed to Durham and we will continue to be committed to Durham. Slide number 8 is a property highlight. Just shows a picture of it and the number of units being 128 units. We're converting hotel rooms into units or hotel suites. It will include a lobby, clubhouse, fitness center, laundry facilities on site, high-speed Wi-Fi, pets are welcome, bike racks, security, and background checks. And the 9th slide is about the community spaces and the fact that these units are already built. So we do bring them up to Vivo Living standards. They're professionally managed on site. We do the background checks and credit checks, and thanks to the council last month for the feedback, which was really, really helpful. And Council Member Cook challenged us with some thoughts, which we have been able to quickly address and will be addressing going forward on our project. And hopefully this becomes more of a prototype for what other projects in the city can look to when they do background checks. And I can talk a little more about that should you have any questions. As far as the 10th slide, our commitment remains to affordable housing. We will set aside 20% of the units to affordable housing. That's 25 units. We've already established a good relationship with the housing department from the other projects. We're in discussions with them. And then again, thanks to council for the feedback you gave us about the different groups, the affordable housing and attainable housing groups in the city. We did reach out to them. We did connect with them. We have dialogue going, and that was very much appreciated feedback in helping us find the right operators for, well, we are the operator, but the right groups for the affordable housing. These units will continue to be deed restricted for 30 years. There'll be a covenant on the property. We are also contributing a $10,000 one-time contribution to dedicated housing fund, a Durham dedicated housing fund that is, as well as a $10,000 one-time contribution to the public schools. I'm going to skip slides 11 and 12, but I want to talk briefly about slide 13. We did perform public outreach. We went to 2 neighborhood community meetings on May 14th and August 22nd. We had positive feedback. Then we went to Planning Commission on October 8th, and the project was supported by Planning Commissioners 13-0. We were very, very pleased with that result. And some of the highlights of the statements that were made by the different commissioners were a good proposal for repurposing of an existing structure, solid project, commitment to affordable housing, socially conscious, environmentally sustainable, solid reuse of project, well laid out, great concept and utilization, adds much needed affordable housing. good use of existing infrastructure to meet Durham's growth needs. These were some of the comments that I wanted to share with you. Slide 14 is our request to humbly asking for you to adopt an ordinance amending the Durham Unified Development Ordinance and Zoning Atlas, as well as adopt a consistency statement. In the last slide, which is 15, that's my contact information there, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much. I don't have any others signed up for this item, so therefore I'll declare the public hearing closed at this time. And back before the council. Colleagues, any questions, comments? Yep.
Just quickly, I was reading the Planning Commission comments, and there's a lot of concern about habitability issues. It says that the hotel is vacant at this time. Is that accurate?
That's my understanding, is that the hotel is vacant.
Okay. Mr. Shire, if you're still on, I would like to hear if you have anything to address the Planning Commission statements about mold and other potential issues that are existing in the space.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Council Member Cook. Pertaining to the mold, when we purchased the property, during inspection, we did find some units, not all units, not the entire project. It did contain some mold, which is very common of what we found in many of the southern states. This issue has been and will continue to be addressed as the units get updated and renovated. So we are aware of where it is, and it's being addressed.
And what are the steps that you've taken so far to address that issue?
So on the construction side, there's a mitigation of that mold. And I believe the comment that came must have come originally from maybe a Yelp review of some sort, because it is really limited to a certain specific section of, I think, 2 or 3 of the units. So these are being mitigated. I do not have the exact details on how the construction team is doing it, but I can tell you that it is being addressed to the city standards. And I'm more than happy to provide you additional information once I speak with the construction team, should you want to have more detail, and I'm happy to provide that.
Okay, and your understand, and to your knowledge, there's no one living at the hotel at this time. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, the hotel is still operating as a hotel, and not in these rooms, though. We do not have a certificate of occupancy to operate it as multifamily, but it's still operating as a hotel.
I'm sorry, could you clarify? I'm going to ask my staff person to clarify that.
So yeah, my understanding from my previous conversation with Tarek was that they are already working on renovating one of the buildings, and that one is not currently occupied. It sounds like there are other buildings that they are not currently renovating that are being operated as a hotel.
On this property?
On this property, that's.
So when we say vacant extended stay hotel, that is not fully accurate on this change report?
That was my understanding. It sounds like my understanding was incorrect.
Okay, I mean, I think we need to get that part straightened out and maybe fixed.
Council member, if
Yes.
I may, Director Aaron's, Mr. Kane's comment is correct. It's not fully occupied. There is a building that is being renovated. Just for clarification, the north building, the property is covered by 2 different zones. The northern building out of the 3 buildings is currently zoned to allow multifamily residential. The 2 southern buildings are zoned for that office commercial use. So the intent is to get this entire property rezoned so it's all consistent under one zoning. So we started the work on the north building, which is the one that is vacant. My apology, the south building. In the north building, I'm mixing it up with the other project. My apology. So the north building is the one that is residentially zoned, vacant, being renovated. The other ones are occupied.
Okay, I'm not meaning to be like contrarian, and I don't have an issue. I'm trying to understand how this tracks with the literature that's in front of me, which says that the current zoning is commercial general with a development plan and office institutional with a development plan, but there is one building that has a different zoning on this site?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
As it mentions, there are two different zonings on the site right now.
Yes.
Commercial general with a development plan, office and institutional with a development plan. Some of the buildings are on one of the zoning districts and some of them are on the other. And the rezoning would put the entire site, which is currently split zone in two different zoning districts, into one zoning district, a planned development residential 35.654.
Neither of these existing zonings is residential though, so I'm confused on how these renovations have already begun.
So the renovations can take place. You can renovate a building. You just simply could not occupy it or get a certificate of occupancy or certificate of compliance prior to getting the rezoning. As long as you have you can get building permits to renovate something. You just simply cannot thereby occupy them. Also, even though neither one of those zoning districts states residential uses are allowed in either one. We allow upper story residential in commercial general, and we also allow various types of residential in our office and institutional zoning district.
Okay. I think that maybe in the vacancy language might need to be addressed, but
Sure.
Other than that, I'm going to drop that issue, but
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. And then, yeah, Mr. Shire, I'd also like to hear about what you said that you had taken some steps to address the issues that I had raised last time about applications and fairness and potential racial equity issues therein. Could you talk a little bit more about those changes or what y'all were thinking about?
Absolutely, Council Member Cook. We thank you for that. We both walked, Alan Allgood and myself, we both walked out of the meeting that evening, scratching our heads. Why is this happened to be the case and how to address it? So we've addressed it by having an internal policy that's being drafted within Vivo for the Durham properties. For the affordable housing units, there would be there'll be a reduced application fee that is the actual cost of the credit report. And should the applicant not qualify, then we will not be charging them for that application fee. Should they qualify, then it's just part of the movement process. So we felt that this would be equitable instead of charging the $150 or $200 that you mentioned last time. We felt that it was equitable and fair, especially for folks who are on budget, not to be paying should they not be qualified. And really, we want everybody to qualify. But also, I wanted to confirm and clarify that typically the way it works with the affordable housing set aside is many folks would be applying through the Durham Housing Department Authority, and they are the ones who really do the background check, qualify them, and they put them on a wait list. And as our units become available, then we have the obligation under the covenant to inform the housing authority, in addition to providing the annual reports that they require, so they are aware of when these units come online. And they are the ones who really end up telling us what tenant or who will be occupying this. So there may have been a little bit of a miscommunication in the way the operation worked in our discussion last time. But nonetheless, should there be a tenant that we need to perform a background check on, we felt it wouldn't be fair to charge them and then tell them, sorry, you cannot, you don't qualify. But then again, this applies to the affordable housing folks or folks who are applying for the set aside units, not the market rate units, but really the set aside units.
Okay, I actually have a couple follow-up questions on that. So first of all, is this going to be something that's going to be across all 3 of the properties? Or
yes, this is going to be our practice with Durham.
Okay. I'm gonna change my order of my questions. So my understanding was that you would accept vouchers from the Housing Authority. Do you have a different understanding of your relationship with the Durham Housing Authority in terms of how residents would be placed in the low-income or restricted income units?
We are going through the paperwork with them right now, and we're going to comply with the Housing Authority's rules and what the City of Durham requires.
Okay, and there are a lot of different housing options that are federally regulated that the Housing Authority covers. And so some of them are owned by the Housing Authority, some are still site-based Section 8, but have different owners, which sounds like maybe what you're talking about, but then others are just vouchers under Section 8 as well. You don't have clarity on what type of relationship you'll be having with the Housing Authority?
Council member, I don't believe it's the clarity. It's about we have not gotten that far with the Housing Authority on this project. They asked us to talk to them once we have the City Council approval, which is what we're hoping to get from you tonight. But regarding the other project, frankly, the timing by which we are going through the paperwork right now. And but then again, we're open to whatever the Housing Authority is considering that's necessary. And again, we're here to try and help. So we're open to what they're going to be suggesting.
Okay. I'm just going to state that the Housing Authority will only do background checks on some types of residences, right? They're not going to be doing the applications for example, if someone comes with a voucher, they have to qualify for a voucher through the Housing Authority, but they do not, the Housing Authority then would not do the application. They would not review the applicants for your residence. So depending on what type of relationship you have, the Housing Authority will have different levels of involvement in terms of doing these like background checks that you were talking about. So that was the reason I was kind of asking for some clarity around that. I would also just state too that a lot of these, even the market rate ones, are still relatively affordable, or I think that that's sort of the idea, is that it is a conversion of a smaller space without potentially a full kitchen and some other things that make it a smaller footprint, but also potentially more affordable. So I would just push again just a little bit on the fact that those applications, I'm glad that they've changed for the affordable units, but I would love for your folks to think about how that application might deter or might racially bias the folks coming to live there, even in the market rate units. So anyway, those are all my comments, I think. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Baker.
I would say that on paper, there are a lot of very positive things about this rezoning case. It's an adaptive reuse of an existing structure. There's a deep commitment to 60% area median income, affordable housing, quite a high percentage compared to what we usually see, and in fact what we've seen in other conversions in the past. And from what I can tell, decent level of responsiveness to colleagues' suggestions that were made. The last time one of these Vivo properties came up in a rezoning case, and so I think all of those point to you know, some positive and encouraging movements. I'd be remiss if I overlooked several of the comments that were made by the Planning Commission regarding management and quality of the property. So I just want to raise those with the applicant. It looks like you've read the Planning Commission comments. I know you spoke a little bit to finding mold, which is it's North Carolina. You're in the southern United States. You know, it's an older building. Obviously, there's going to be conditions like that. But if you can just speak to and maybe respond to, and there's not very many comments, but some of these comments that were made by the planning commissioners regarding the quality of the structure, potential health hazards, and management, I would appreciate that.
Councilmember Baker, thanks for the question. Regarding the quality management, please note that we, Vivo, purchased the property, closed escrow on it towards the end of Q1, Q2 of 2024. So I honestly cannot speak fairly about the prior management of the hotel or how they ran it. But I can tell you our commitment, similar to the 27 plus properties that we own and manage, that it will be professionally managed, on-site managed, secured, and any issues pertaining to structure, mold or whatnot will be mitigated. We do take that very seriously. We did see the comment there and on the Planning Commission report, and our team, construction team, has been all over it. I will be glad to report back to city staff the next steps and what we found, but I can tell you from speaking to the construction folks prior to being scheduled for this hearing is trying to understand what they've done to mitigate it, and I know they are and will continue to mitigate as they go through the renovation of the buildings.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, as I said, I think this is on the better side of many of the rezoning cases that we see. A lot of positive things in here for the reasons that I stated. One last question, because it did seem like you were responsive to Councilmember Cook's suggestion around the Councilmember Cook. The application fee. Is that something that we can make a commitment?
What is your?
No.
No, I am not. I'm not confident that that's the kind of operational thing that we can tie to the land.
Fair enough. Okay. Just thought I'd ask. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman. Rist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Shire. Good to have you online. Thanks for coming in forward with this project. It's good seeing you at our last meeting. I just have actually a couple comments then one question. So, let me get in here. Yeah, I really appreciate the adaptive reuse. I think that's the kind of thing we'd like to see in Durham. I appreciate the 20% affordable at 60% AMI also is a great target there, and also the contributions both to the dedicated Durham Housing Fund and DPS. The one thing, and also I want to thank you for getting on the phone with myself and Scott Carter from BPAC to talk through some of the BPAC comments that I'm sure you've seen and my colleagues have seen in the packet. I know that a couple of those were difficult for you to address, since that is a private road there, right? Ivy Creek
Ivy
Road
Creek, that's correct.
is a private road, correct? Yeah. So I know we had some difficulty responding to those, but the one I did want to ask you about was the conversation we had about this idea of like a 12-foot shared use path between the northern edge of the parking lot and then, not very far away there is MLK Parkway, which has sidewalks and so forth. So I wonder, and I know that when we had that conversation, it wasn't clear who owned that land, and I think we talked to Bill Judge from the city. So that property there is owned by DOT, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Is NCDOT right of way.
Yeah, right away. So I'm just wondering whether it's something you've considered creating that shared use path. I know negotiating with DOT may not be the simplest thing in the world, but I think what we're trying to build here in Durham, as I'm sure you understand, is not just because I drove the property just over the weekend. I know people could bike in your bike through the parking lot, at your entrance, across Ivy Creek, but I think what we're looking for is a real elegant way to connect this property to the connectivity and mobility that's on MLK Drive. So I just wonder if that's something you've considered, because I think this would really make this like sort of A+ project. So love your comments on that.
Councilmember Rist, thanks again for taking the time to speak with us and hearing our concerns with some of the comment. We did a very genuine attempt in addressing these comment in a way where we can implement them, and where we could, we were able to, and where we can't, we came back and we mentioned why we couldn't. While it sounds really intriguing to connect the property northern edge to MLK, as we looked into it with our civil engineers and the city, and then we reported some of that back to you on the call, and some of it post that call. The fact that the property has it's a detention basin for a storm, and the fact that it's also owned by DOT, it makes it impractical, if not impossible, to connect through for the storm drain issues we talked about, and the fact that we would need an encroachment easement to build retaining walls to be able to stabilize that walkway. In an event of a rain, that could be compromised. But that's all in addition to the fact that we would have to go through DOT and get a consent from them, get that temporary access easement. We looked into it. It's really not an easy task for this kind of project. And quite frankly, if this was a ground up, it probably, because of its timing, may be a little more justifiable. But in this case, it really is going to be impossible and impractical, not just financially, but time-wise and process. As you know, going through DOT for any approval is a lifetime, or it seems like so. So I would hope that you would have an understanding of that challenge, and just cooperate with us, because that's really going to impact the project tremendously.
I understand. I understand working with DOT would not be a sort of a quick sort of right away kind of process. I guess I still want to understand. So there is that retention pond there, but there's enough space, it seems like, beside the retention pond for that 12-foot wide path to go, right? There's no, you would need to build any kind of retaining wall, correct?
No, I believe, Councilmember, we would need a retaining wall of some sort, whatever the height of it is, to be able to stabilize that walkway. The detention basin is not just very near the area that you mentioned where the walkway would be. These detention basins are made for certain, and it's all calculated as part of that space. So our intrusion into that space would be really intrusion into the storm drain. So again, that's one concern, and it's a big legitimate concern. But that's also in addition to having to deal with DOT to try and get an access easement. And also we would have to go to the sewer and storm sanitation to get an easement from them for construction purposes and everything else. So we're talking about a very lengthy period to secure that path. And my concern is it starts to take away from our ability to provide these affordable housing units. As one of the council members asked last time, how can we afford to do this? And we can, because our program takes an existing building and repurposes the building, and that's how we can afford to do that. In the event we have to depart from our program, then our ability to provide these affordable housing units would be tremendously compromised and would probably force the number of units, affordable units, to be reduced, which is against the purpose of what we're trying to do here, and also comply with the city's mandate for this zone area. We're excited to be providing these affordable housing units. We're excited to be able to provide attainable housing. We're excited to maintain and manage the property in a professional manner. And we just hope that we're not being delayed by easements from sanitation and DOT and whatnot.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Shire, good morning to you. Thank you. You are in Japan. Good morning and for joining us. I know you're tired, and I want to thank my colleagues. I want to particularly thank Councilmember Cook, who I think did an excellent job really at teasing out some areas of concern. Actually, 90% of my comments are now gone to the good work, due to the good work she's done in teasing out some things that I had some concerns about. Mr. Shire, you heralded or trumpeted the Planning Commission's unanimous vote, which is a good move. I think you should. That's a good look for the project, but there were some comments beyond the celebratory comments of the project, but I think it's a great project, by the way. We're big fans of adaptive reuse in Durham. Good project, and of course, affordable housing is something that we're concerned about. I think what has been teased out here tonight is that for us in Durham, and this is not about you personally, this is really to the development community writ large who's watching us tonight and who monitors these meetings. For us in Durham, affordable housing does not mean substandard housing. Affordable does not mean different for us. We've established a benchmark and a standard in Durham where, you know, we don't want you to be able to tell the difference outside between the market rate apartments and affordable units. We don't want buildings separated from that are affordable from the rest of the development. We don't want differences in aesthetics or materials. And the way we do that, we made the decision and determination, a value-based decision in Durham, to tax ourselves, to put ourselves in a position to provide the subsidies that allow the housing to be non-different or indistinguishable from one another. So part of what you're hearing about the concern about mold and other things and management issues is Durham's deep commitment not to allow affordable housing to be conflated with different housing or stratified type housing. So that's some of what you're hearing. Nothing personal, but to that point, I do want to and I'm excited about this project for all of the reasons that we get excited about these kind of projects in Durham, but I am concerned about the mitigation and addressing the mold issues, if any. And this is an older building. There are probably going to be some issues, and I know you've got some experience in this, but fully addressing it. And I guess to the staff, before we issue, from an inspection point of view, before we issue certificates of occupancy or give them a final approval, I'm assuming mold is one of the things we look for.
Yes, the inspections department would do a full inspection and make sure that mitigation, that checks are made to see if the mold is still there and that mitigation measures have been followed.
Okay. All right, well, Mr. Shire, I'm supporting this project tonight, but I want you, and not you personally, but your community writ large, development community, to take to heart what's been said and the things that we expect here in Durham, even when it's affordable housing. We don't want it to look different or feel different or smell different here in Durham. So thank you so much. I look forward to supporting this project. And thank you, and colleagues, particularly Councilmember Cook, for your excellent treatment of this case. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Middleton, if I may comment back and thank you for your thoughts. I want to share with you our commitment to even and equitable distribution of units throughout the project. And this is not just for the council, but also for my colleagues listening who will develop projects. That's the right way to do it. It's an even and equitable distribution of units throughout the building. So they're not all being bundled up in one corner. Every person has the opportunity and the right to live in a great unit, and our commitment is to manage this property to high standards, and we thank you for your support.
Thank you, colleagues. I'll be rather short. I'm intimately familiar with this property, been on it several times, just through as a hotel when they were doing some community work and housing people who were in need. It is a rather older property, and I am looking forward to it being repurposed. And I'm glad that we're actually making it into permanent housing because it's going to provide a very, very good quality of life for folks that will live there. You literally have, you could work at Blue Cross Blue Shield. You walk out of your front door, you're there if you get a job there. Or you could just walk outside and around the corner, you're at the grocery store with several restaurants and spas and things and cleaners and Target across the street. You know, it's just, it's in the heart of just about everything you need. And I think that making this permanent housing rather than hotels, or motel rather, is a really good reuse for this property. So I look forward to supporting it as well. And with that being said, I am going to entertain a motion to.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, just a question for staff. Just following up, I just wanted to ask if the mode, I guess, in a rehab project where planning is concerned, is there a visual check or is there like an actual like x-ray check happening?
Regarding mold?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that would need to be something direct to the inspections department. I'm not familiar with exactly what kind of inspections they do regarding that.
Okay. And there's no one from inspections here that could speak to that?
No, there's nobody here from inspections.
Who's the director, the assistant director over it?
The assistant director is Alicia Bailey Taylor. And Tom Hosey is the director.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that, because I know that that comment and that question will come up again. I just want to make sure I know how to. So.
Colleagues, are there any more comments? All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of commercial general with the development plan and office and institutional with the development plan and establishing the same as planned development residential 35.654.
Moved as read.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, and motion two, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a consistency statement as required by the North Carolina General Statute, Section 160D-605.
Move to adopt consistency.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. And you can close the vote and vote out.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Shire.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. And I want to thank staff again for their guidance and for being very, very professional and helpful to work with. You should all be very proud of the staff that you have. Thank you so much.
Oh, we are. Thank you. And enjoy Japan. All right, item number 29.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're ready for the staff report. Looks like item 29 is well represented. We'll hear you out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A request for a zoning map change has been received from Mark Pons for a portion of one parcel of land totaling 0.50 acres and located at 2504 Hillsborough Road. The current zoning is Compact Design Support 2. The applicant proposes to change this designation to commercial infill with a textual development plan. The applicant is proposing to rezone the properties to allow for expansion of a non-conforming use, vehicle service minor, though the proposed development plan does not prohibit future uses of the land permitted within this commercial infill district, except nightclub, bar, and payday lender. The properties are currently designated transit opportunity area on the place type map. The proposed zoning is generally consistent with the designated place type, except for the intended use of vehicle service minor. Staff does not recommend removal of the existing designated place type of TOA, as this area is ideal for higher density mixed-use development in the future, and the majority of the allowable uses in the CI district are supportive of the TOA. Thank you, and staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions.
You've heard the staff report. Council, are there any technical questions for staff? Yes.
Could you just review for me one more time?
Sure.
That it is generally consistent except for the use?
Right, so the existing use is the auto service station, which we normally would not support within the transit opportunity area, but it's an existing use. It's already there.
Right.
And the way the state law is worded is that if you all find it to be inconsistent with transit opportunity area, we must change the place type. We don't want to change the place type from TOA because we want any future zoning designation that we might do through a overall rezoning through a new unified development ordinance to be consistent with the place type map, to be consistent with the TOA at some indeterminate point in the future. So we'd like to keep that place type designation on there right now. And we need to find the proposed district consistent with that. Now, generally, commercial infill is intended for retail uses and, retail uses, service uses, and so forth, but it does allow vehicle service.
Okay, interesting, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, at this time, I will declare the public hearing open. Mr. Biker, how much time do you need?
5 minutes, Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Let's put 7 minutes on. Thank you.
Mr. Kane, I'm sorry, I don't see the PowerPoint for this item. My bad.
Oh, where'd it go?
This is above my pay grade.
I have no idea where it went.
I saw your check stub, Mr. Biker. Are you sure?
I was going to say.
It was there when I was here earlier, if you'll give me
I'm not
a
paranoid.
moment.
I know everybody's out to get me. What'd I do?
I have no idea. I don't know why he did that. Yeah, it was there when I was up here earlier for the previous one. Actually, it wasn't working earlier, so there you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor Williams, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, members of the City Council. I'm Patrick Biker, I live at 2614 Stewart Drive. I'm an attorney with Morningstar Law Group, and I'm here tonight representing Chapel Hill Tire. I'd like to briefly introduce a few of the leaders from Chapel Hill Tire. We have Kim Fioric, the Marketing Director, Mark Pons, the President of Chapel Hill Tire, and also with us tonight are Chapel Hill Tire's Regional Manager, Colby Witherspoon, and we also have the store manager for the Hillsborough Road location, who is Dalton Elmore. Chapel Hill Tire is the relatively new owner of the tire and vehicle repair shop located at 2504 Hillsborough Road that you can see on this slide. Chapel Hill Tire bought this building on May 11, 2023. And the building was built in 1985, so it's 39 years old and in need of significant improvements. However, I do need to emphasize that the improvements Chapel Hill Tire wants to undertake will not expand the building footprint or its height. What you can see in this picture in terms of the size and the height of the building will remain unchanged. Unfortunately, the need to convert the storage area in the back into a couple new service bays ran afoul of the permitted uses in the Compact Design Support 2 zoning district. Accordingly, we need to ask for commercial infill with a textual development plan to allow Chapel Hill Tire to move forward with the necessary improvements to this 39-year-old building. These improvements are necessary because Chapel Hill Tire has been very successful here since opening just over a year ago. In fact, Chapel Hill Tire store on Hillsborough Road was voted one of the best 5 auto repair establishments in all of Durham by Durham Magazine. To better serve its customers, Chapel Hill Tire needs to increase the number of service bays from 6 to 8. In regard to the building modification we hope to implement through this rezoning, here's a view of the side of the existing building along Rose Hill Avenue, where the 2 new service bays would be located. So if you stand where the 2 new service bays would be, and you look across Rose Hill Avenue, this is what you would see. Now, while these appear to be residential structures, this parcel is zoned commercial general with no development plan. So this property could be a vape shop or a payday lender, just by way of example of what is permitted by right in the CG zone. Next, I want to emphasize that the 39-year-old parking area landscaping will be improved. Here's the Chapel Hill Tire store at 4805 Hope Valley Road. Part of the improvements for the Hillsborough Road site will include landscaping improvements as noted in your staff report pursuant to Comprehensive Plan Policies 39 and 94. There also will be a new UDO compliant sign like the one you see here. In addition, I would be remiss if I did not point out that Durham County Stormwater and Erosion Control Division has been very pleased with the steps Chapel Hill Tire has taken to clean up the pollution caused by the prior owner. Also, this building has a pretty antiquated customer waiting area. On the right side of this slide, you can see the customer's path to the restrooms that are on site. In addition to the 2 additional service bays that will speed up the services customers receive, the new waiting area will be a major improvement as well, with a new customer service area looking something like this. In closing, usually when a petition is delivered to the City Council, it is in opposition to a rezoning. Tonight, I'm happy to say we have a petition with over 250 signatures in support of this rezoning that I'll drop off with the City Clerk at the end of this meeting. I hope the City Council will duly consider Chapel Hill Tire's community support and its success as demonstrated by the Best of Durham Award. In addition, I need to point out that in October, Durham County selected this Chapel Hill Tire store location on Hillsborough Road to provide repair and maintenance for Durham County vehicles. And that, in turn, drives the need for the 2 additional service bays. I want to emphasize that the 2 new service bays are for technical repair and not for tire-related work in order to reduce noise generation. Lastly, based on our community engagement that went on with the Old West Durham neighborhood, we wish to proffer the following 5 text commitments that I will summarize as follows. 1, construction of a sidewalk to City of Durham standards in the Rose Hill Avenue right-of-way along the property being rezoned. 2, installing vehicle use area landscaping to UDO standards in the triangle that's located between parking spaces perpendicular to Hillsborough Road and at an angle to Hillsborough, along with UDO compliant landscaping between the parking lot, Hillsborough Road, and Rose Hill Avenue. But we do have to account for, I hope if any of you have gone out to the site, you would notice that there are 2 sets of Duke Power, Duke Energy power lines going over the site, as well as a slope from the existing sidewalk down to the parking lot. 3, removal of the existing changeable copy sign and replacing it with a UDO compliant sign. 4, removal of the existing middle curb cut on Rose Hill Avenue and relocating the northern curb cut to serve the 2 new service bays. And lastly, number 5, subject to approval by NCDOT and Go Durham, installation of a bus shelter along Hillsborough Road. We partially also made those additional proffers in response to the comments by the Planning Commission, where we received a 6-3 recommendation for approval. So with those additions, we respectfully ask for your approval tonight. Our team will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have signups here. They are They're all proponents. I'm wondering if these are resource folks or they're just speaking in favor, but I will look online as well. Joni, where is it? Great. All right, I have online Ms. Joni Brown. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm Joni Brown. I live at 3822 Alameda Street. And I'm speaking as a citizen in support of Chapel Hill Tire. My husband Branson and I have lived in and served the Durham community for 44 years. And I'm asking that you get behind this community-supported business that not only offers paid internship opportunities to our area high schoolers, supports local organizations such as Special Olympics through fundraisers, pays for all employee trainings and certifications to assure high-quality car service, but also they annually bless 12 community members with $1,000 worth of car care service through their 12 Days of Kindness initiative, which, by the way, is happening right now for 2024. We were secretly nominated by a church friend and were one of those 12 people blessed last December by the Kindness Initiative. But Chapel Hill Tire went beyond the original $1,000 gift when they found out our check engine light was on, and it involved the catalytic converter, which we couldn't afford to replace at the moment. Colby knew from our nomination story that life was a bit financially challenging for us due to Branson's 33-year battle with Parkinson's. Colby decided to not only replace our front brakes, but also took care of the new catalytic converter, which cost at least $3,000 more than the allotted $1,000. And he refused to let me work out a payment plan to pay for the amount over the $1,000. He said, "No, we want to do this for you." And I cried. So this is the caliber of people we're talking about. So I ask you to please do whatever you must to help this company magnify their customer-centered service by improving their outdated workspace and providing better accessibility to their customer bathrooms.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joni. That's the only person I have online for that item. So what I'm going to do, I will call the individuals. I will say some of these handwritings mirror mine. That's not a good thing, and being able to read this. This is John Wood. After John Wood, it'll be Alicia Parr, then Liz Morris, and yeah, Patrick already spoke. Mr. Wood, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Welcome. You have 3 minutes, and it's a pleasure to share handwriting with you.
Good evening, Mayor Williams and Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. My name is John Wood, as you've heard, and I live at 2406 Green Street, about a block from the project. Many in our neighborhood of Old West Durham had initially been concerned about the rezoning, primarily due to the addition of the service bays that Patrick mentioned that front basically right out onto Rose Hill Avenue, which is primarily a residential street, but the entrance, one of the entrances to our neighborhood of Old West Durham. In effect, it appeared that it would function similar to a fire station, which has access going right out to the street without an internal driveway connecting it. So we were concerned about that, as well as some views that neighbors would have directly to the service bays, as well as noise and traffic circulation at a pretty congested intersection of Hillsborough and Rose Hill. Subsequent to the Planning Commission meeting, the applicants have met with our working group several times and agreed to the additional conditions to the development plan that Aaron's made reference to. that we feel will help mitigate the negative proposed conditions as well as some of the existing conditions, such as the parking lot currently is not screened at all from Hillsborough. There's a lack of street trees, those sorts of things. They have continued to, have agreed to continue to work with us as the project proceeds through the site plan review process, and we appreciate that. Although we still have some concerns regarding circulation in and out of the service bays, we've contacted both transportation and public works departments, and we feel that they will be looking at that quite closely in the site plan review process. So hopefully all those issues will be addressed at that level. Again, we very much appreciate the applicant's willingness to listen to our concerns and engage with us. We look forward to continuing to work with them as neighbors and to make the project as favorable as possible to everyone. There was a minor condition modification that we talked to Aaron about regarding street trees that we hope can be incorporated. There were concerns about trees planting in the underneath the transmission and utility right-of-ways, and we think there's ways that that can be accomplished simply within the ordinance requirements. Thank you very much.
Alicia, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Yep. Alicia Parr. I reside at 2 Drakes Way Court, and I'm a small business owner here in Durham, and I've lived here since 2000. And I'm also a woman who's not equipped to repair my own car, usually. So I'm here to proclaim my support for Chapel Hill Tire as a longtime resident, and I'm a big fan of Durham. It's a wonderful culture, it's a wonderful town, and not only am I a customer, and I am a loyal customer at that, Chapel Hill Tire has been a customer to my business as well. And it really, it gives me a really good understanding of how they work and how they operate. And it's all about being good neighbors. And in fact, one of their core values that they put into practice every day, because I've seen it, is to say yes to customers and each other. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened in follow-up conversations with the neighbors after the planning committee meeting. And they really mean it. And I think everybody that's sitting here that works with that organization would say the same thing. I know that some neighbors, it's a little fearful, and I live in a beautiful neighborhood as well, and I would worry about new things coming into my neighborhood. But a lot of that might be based on assumptions about what the business is like, what the mindset is like of the leadership and of the team. And I think that we see that Chapel Hill Tire, and I know that Chapel Hill Tire is a great neighbor. And this is a company that regular people can trust to really work with. Not just on these issues here, but for me, I know that I can bring my car in somewhere and know that I'm not going to be taken advantage of. And I know that sounds like just a silly thing, but it goes a long way. So this is the kind of business, I believe, that really adds to the culture of Durham and the way that we all want to see Durham continue to grow and evolve in a beautiful way. And that's really just what I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. What's the name of your business? I'm just curious. What?
Oh, Perform Mentor.
Okay. And I have Liz. It's good to see you.
Hello. Hard to follow that one. My name's Liz Morris. Good evening. 608 Dowd Street. I've lived in Durham since 2016. I grew up in Chapel Hill, and I own a business in Hillsborough. As a small business owner, I strongly believe in supporting other local businesses, which is why I'm here to support the rezoning request for Chapel Hill Tire. I've been a loyal customer of theirs for years, and my parents went to the Chapel Hill Tire near University Mall when I was growing up. The rezoning will allow Chapel Hill Tire to add 2 bays without expanding the current footprint, which will reduce wait times and increase the number of appointments they can take each day. Through optimizing their current site, they will better meet the demand in our neighborhood. This change helps focus business activity in areas that are already built up, which just makes sense. Lastly, allowing the business to realize growth will help retain and grow local jobs by contributing more to the city's tax base. As a small business owner and neighbor, I see this as a valuable opportunity for our community, and I fully support it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Those are all of the speakers I have for this item. So therefore, at this time, I will declare the public hearing closed and back before the council. Colleagues. Yep, Councilmember Baker.
I love feel-good rezoning cases. We need more of these. I appreciate everything that folks had to say, and I appreciate this case. I'm going to be voting for it. Appreciated the comments made by the Planning Commission. I will say, if I were just purely looking at the rezoning case, you know, I want the design districts. I like those design districts. So I only have one question. That's for staff, actually. And it was alluded to earlier. Can you just explain why they're not expanding the building footprint? Why were they not allowed to do what they wanted to do under the existing zoning regulations? And would you see that changing? Are we going to be adding or modifying the non-conforming uses section of the UDO through the UDO rewrite? Do you anticipate that happening in a way that would potentially, I mean, I know that's a big question, but potentially allow to make it a little bit easier to convert uses?
Sure. So the quick answer on that is that the existing use is not a permitted use in the compact design support 2 zoning district. So it's a non-conforming use. You cannot expand a non-conforming use, and in this case, that would be the extension of 2 bays. You cannot expand a non-conforming use within the zoning district. That's something not allowed to do. You need to rezone in order to do that. So they're rezoning to a district that does permit that use so that they can expand the existing use. Regarding whether or not we're going to be modifying our non-conforming, it's early in the process. We have not gotten to those kinds of details, but this is certainly something that we can take back. We've got a test case now, a case study, so to speak, as to how we might make our non-conforming use standards be a little more generous for something like this.
Yeah, and in many ways, I think this is almost like a happy middle ground. You know, we are allowing this use in this building. They're going to be there for a while. It's a beloved local business, and in some ways, we get to keep all of that, and we get a bus stop and sidewalks. So I think in many ways, this discretionary review allows for us to find that happy middle ground. So again, I'm going to be voting for this and appreciate all of the work that has gone into winning the support of the community and all of the work that you have done as a small local business in the Triangle.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I'll be supporting this. Thank you for everything you do, especially your mentoring and mechanic for high school students. I know that's incredibly important, especially for students and kids who aren't necessarily anticipating a 4-year degree right out of high school. Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman. Rist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Baker and the applicants. Appreciate the community engagement that you've described there, very impressive. Appreciate the additional proffers, which sounds like sort of a lot of landscaping pieces around there. The only question I had was around looking at the comprehensive plan consistency review. Have you all considered, either you or the applicants, any kind of green building techniques in the new building? Things like solar, passive solar, so forth. That's one question I had.
Yeah, we looked at that, Councilmember Rist. Because the building's almost 40 years old, it's just not structurally made to incorporate those types of more modern green building techniques, and that's why we went to the bus shelter. I would consider that green infrastructure, but the building, it's not structurally made to handle something like solar panels, for example.
So it's not, so you're going to maintain the building, simply sort of renovate it as it is, as opposed to...
Yeah, it's keeping the shell basically the way it is, just removing, if you recall the picture of the storage area, just gutting the storage area and putting in 2 service bays, and that's really, and then the cosmetics. Heavy.
So like on those new service bays, those are new structures, right? So on those,
no, the walls and the roof stay the same.
You're just going to open it up, so there's
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just echo the sentiments of my colleague. I know this company's enjoyed a pretty impressive footprint over the years. You got solar panels on your properties in Chapel Hill, correct? And don't you have a garden on the Woodcroft? Look, you can't put a garden on this building? I'm laughing, I'm serious.
It's a fairly tight site, Mayor Pro Tem. It's only a half acre that we've got, and we're committed to removing a small amount of the impervious surface in order to put in landscaping and make it pervious. So there certainly will be improvements over what was built 39 years ago. But when you're starting with a clean slate and say you have more than half an acre to deal with, it opens up a lot more possibilities than trying to retrofit something that was built in 1985.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I look forward to supporting this project. Thank you.
I was going to ask some questions along the same line as Councilmember Baker, not necessarily to you all, but about this project. Sometimes I feel like we are so overregulated that it just becomes overly complex. But I followed the line of questioning, and I appreciate it. And I hope that we could, I hope that our regulations can work with what we have and just make sense to be able to easily do business while also just check as many boxes as we can. Obviously, we don't want things to just be so overly regulated that we have issues with what we're dealing with in another case, if you know what I mean, with the state legislature. But this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to call for the vote, then I'll make a comment. But thank you all for what you do. I'm really impressed with this mentoring program, the apprenticeship program. We need more of that. So for me, that is the most compelling reason why I'll be supporting this. So that being said, yes, Councilmember Cook.
I don't have much to add to my colleagues, although I echo their comments. I just want to say to Alicia that I heard you say it kind of dismissively about finding a mechanic that's not going to take advantage of you. And I'm just going to say, I know it's kind of a funny topic, but people who are female-bodied who go into mechanic shops, we all have had this experience, and you do not need to belittle it. It is so real for half of us, and it is extremely tiring the amount of times that I have literally taken a male-bodied person with me so that I feel like I'm not getting cheated, even though that is ridiculous. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for raising that point. And Chapel Hill Tire, I think all of us up here maybe have gone through your doors in one way or another in one of your locations. So thank you for being that safe place for our community.
Our comments are supposed to remain germane to the topic, but I'm going to allow that one because I agree. That's spot on. No, that's good. So colleagues, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of Compact Design Support 2 and establishing the same as commercial infield with the textual development plan.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
All right, and the second motion is to adopt a consistency statement as required by North Carolina General Statute, Section 160D-605.
Move to adopt consistency.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote and report out.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. I didn't want to say this in the vote because I don't want it to appear as it's thumb on the nail, thumb on the scale, whatever it's saying. But I'm a frequent customer there, and your customer service is amazing. So thank you to your team that's there, boots on the ground. Kudos from the mayor. They are doing a great job. Thank you. All right, so before we go into this next one, I'm going to call for us to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll finish up the other two. So let's report back at 9 p.m.
He said, what are we doing the council procedure? I know we got a draft that Kim set up, the stuff that we worked on.
Recording stopped.
So Tasha, $60 million sounds like a lot to build 12 miles of sidewalks. Can you tell us what all is involved in actually constructing a sidewalk?
Yes, these are not simply sidewalk projects, but some of them are actually road construction projects. There is a lot involved, and what is represented here is the full cost of project delivery. There will be design costs, consultant costs associated with the acquisition of right-of-ways, the relocation of utilities, as well as project management oversight and inspection. That is in addition to the actual construction costs associated with each project. Additionally, some of these projects require significant lane widening, even some culvert extensions. So these are not simply sidewalk projects, but some of them are actually road construction projects.
I came to the city to develop leadership and supervisory skills. I stayed because of the city's culture and dedication to serving residents. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
I came to the city for the great insurance and retirement benefits, but I stayed for stability and vacation time. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
I came to the city looking for a new challenge in my career. I stayed for the growth opportunities, work-life balance, and impact my work has on the community. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
Owning a home provides a sense of financial stability, family, community, and pride. But housing prices are now higher than ever, making it hard for many Durham residents to afford their first home. That's why the City of Durham is offering the Down Payment Assistance Program to support eligible individuals with up to $80,000 in 0% interest forgivable loans to purchase a house within the city limits. Visit this site or call to find out if you qualify for the program. Here's some tips to ensure that your garbage and recycling gets picked up. 1. Your cart should be put out for collection before 6 a.m. on your collection day. 2. Your cart should be at least 3 feet from all other objects such as mailboxes, telephone poles, fire hydrants, trees, and other carts. 3. Your cart should be no more than 3 feet from the curb. 4. No vehicles should be blocking your carts. The mechanical arms on our trucks need direct access to your carts and cannot reach around vehicles. To find more information about garbage and recycling pickups, go to this web address.
All right, colleagues, let's resume.
I haven't even been over. How did that happen? Investigated.
All right, we are on item number 30, and we are ready for the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to be throwing you a bit of a curveball on this one. This is not a typical zoning case as you usually see. This is for a statutory vested rights determination. We've received an application from Lance Chernow of Davis Development Incorporated for one parcel of land totaling 2.83 acres and located at 1400 Marion Avenue. The request is for a site-specific vesting plan to vest the development rights as approved in Site Plan D-22-00108, Davis Park Pod G, which was approved by the Durham City County Planning Department on March 29th, 2023. Approving the request will extend the validity of the site plan for a period of 5 years from the date of City Council action. So in other words, if you vote to approve this request tonight, you will be extending the life of the site plan from March 29th, 2027 to December 2nd, 2029. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any technical questions or comments for the staff, colleagues? All right, at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. Mr. Biker.
Yes, good evening again,
How much time
Mayor.
do you think you need?
Pardon me, sir?
How much time do you think you need?
2 minutes.
All right, could you put 5 minutes on? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Williams, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, members of the City Council. I'm Patrick Biker. I live at 2614 Stewart Drive. I'm an attorney with Morningstar Law Group. I'm here tonight representing Davis Development for the Statutory Vested Rights Determination. We're asking for this Statutory Vested Rights Determination for slightly less than 3 acres within the 107-acre master plan development known as Davis Park East. I'm joined tonight by Lance Chernow, who is the General Counsel for Davis Development. It has been my privilege to be the zoning attorney for Davis Park for approximately 20 years. Davis Park was originally known as Triangle Metro Center South. Why the directions got changed, I'm not exactly sure. The current development plan for Davis Park East was approved by the Durham County Board of Commissioners back in February of 2006, and this is it. The Davis Park East Development Plan approved up to 2,285 dwelling units on 107 acres, along with some commercial space. Accordingly, the approved density was around 21 units per acre. Now that was pretty high density and pretty cutting edge back in 2006. Davis Development has a fine track record as one of the multifamily developers within Davis Park East. They have completed their phase 1, and their phase 2 is under construction right now. Of course, the completion of phase 1 was materially delayed by the pandemic. The Statutory Vested Rights Determination reflected in this agenda item applies to their phase 3. Davis Development has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the site engineering for phase 3, which they refer to as Pod G. It would be a shame for Davis Development to lose all of that investment due to factors largely beyond their control. Needless to say, Davis Development does not want to have 2 phases under construction at the same time. The current phase, phase 2, is projected to be finished sometime in 2026 with occupancy in 2027, and that explains the duration of the vested right request pending before the council tonight. Accordingly, Davis Development respectfully asks for the validity of the site plan for Pod G to be extended with approval of this statutory vested right. We greatly appreciate the staff report and all the assistance we received from Mr. Kane and his team. The staff report fully described the process and the basis for this request. I'll be happy to answer any questions in regards to Davis Park, and we respectfully ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. When I saw this come before us, when I was doing my homework, I think this is the first time I've seen this.
Actually, if I may, Mayor, I think the only other statutory vested right I've worked on was also for Davis Park, and it was probably like 10 years ago. So this is one of those projects that goes on for 20 years. And so I don't remember what pod it was for, but the council, must have been Bill Bell, must have been the mayor, approved a statutory vested right for a previous pod or phase in Davis Park, and that it was probably something due to the Great Recession in 2008 to 2012.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I don't have any other speakers for this item. So therefore, I will declare the public hearing closed at this time and back before the council. Colleagues, are there any questions? Starting to my left. Councilmember Baker.
So the staff report says, if the zoning of the site is changed, then a future site plan submission would be required to meet the requirements of the new zoning district. And when I first read that, I was thinking, well, why would someone have the property and then be worried about the zoning on their property change? But we are going through the UDO rewrite. Is that what the concern that has prompted the application here is that there might be a city-initiated rezoning of the site?
I think that's a fair statement, yes, just simply to preserve the investment that Davis Development has made within Davis Park based on the sequencing of their phases. That's it. Oh, sorry, and here's Lance.
Lance Chernow, Davis Development, Atlanta, Georgia. We actually got the rezoning notice from staff, had meetings with staff as to what to do in this situation, and so instead of trying to object to the rezoning efforts or try to change the rezoning efforts just for Pod G to comply with the existing site plan, this was an alternative, and so this was the alternative we proposed to be able to continue with our site plan without having to impact this staff's proposed rezoning plan, which obviously covers a much larger area, and we didn't want to impact that at all. So we thought this was the most innocuous way to protect our rights while at the same time support staff with everything they're doing with the rezoning.
Councilmember Baker, if I could just add one more thing, just to clarify, it was not, I don't believe, the incoming UDO that was prompting this. It was the Page, this is within the Page Miami Design District. That's what prompted it.
Okay, that's helpful. Yes, okay, so, and there's very good reasons for vesting law. I've seen in some states vesting law be overly friendly to landowners, where you, famously in Texas, you could bring in a napkin that had a drawing on it and that you'd be vested for 5 years. But there are very good reasons and fair reasons for vesting law. You know, you've invested quite a bit into a property, and it would be unfair to change the regulations that apply. And then sometimes there are, you know, acts of God that come up that prevent you or slow down the development process and make it more difficult. And so that is the reason why you have come before us. I have not seen one of these before, so I think it's interesting, this discretionary review of vesting. So for me, the question is, you know, I think that we would have to place a lot of scrutiny on ourselves to not extend it. But the question for me would be, what are new development standards require better site design, and is the better outcome worth it? So that's something that I'm thinking of and have been thinking of as I've reviewed this. I did want to ask staff, did you all have a recommendation to us about what you want to recommend to our decision be, or is this something that you're just trying to provide us information and leave open?
Yeah, we're more trying to provide you the information. You as the policymakers will make that decision. But yeah, just to make sure it's clear what you're voting on, we do have an approved site plan that followed the zoning as it is currently on the site. This essentially is just simply extending the life of that site plan for 2.5 more years to better fit the timing for the development team to be able to do what they've already been approved to do.
And the site plan, we saw a version of the site plan.
You saw as much as I could fit into on base.
And when I looked at it, I mean, when I'm looking at the site plan, it's showing a building that is built out to the sidewalk, right? Correct. And almost fits what would be in the rezoning, almost, maybe not quite.
Maybe not exactly, but most of it, yes.
Okay.
That's a fair statement to make.
Okay. So then we just have to consider making the balance between, you know, the applicant has come forth, has made investments to a certain degree on the site plan numbers that we are not specifically privy to. Would the new design standards that would apply to the site, are they so much better that they would be worth it over the, you know, what the current site plan is? So for me, that is what I am weighing. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah,
sure.
Beyond the design standard, it's a significant reduction in density. So it's beyond. I think right now we have the approved site plan for 250 units. My recollection, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, is that with height and other requirements, it would materially reduce the density. That was part of the issue with the rezoning.
Yeah. And I would add to that,
I believe that is correct. They would have a reduced density compared to what they are currently approved for. I couldn't give you the exact numbers right now. I could look that up.
But I would,
exact numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron, I apologize.
I'm done.
I would emphasize that Davis Park is, I think, one of the leading pedestrian-oriented developments that I've worked on in my 30 years or so of this. So we master planned the 107 acres is just this side of Davis Drive. There's another 50 acres on the other side of Davis Drive. It's all connected with paths, and there'll be commercial built along Hobson Road and along Davis Drive, so that this will be, I think, one of the most walkable neighborhoods in all of Durham. And that, I think, justifies the statutory vested right here.
And there's commercial proposed in this site plan?
No, that's a different site plan.
Just
We're working on it. It would be along Hobson Road, just west of the railroad tracks, would be a commercial pod. But very walkable from the site we're considering tonight, like a stone's throw, literally.
Do we know are there any significant material differences between what would exist under the potential zoning standards and what is in the current site plan that is vested or that is being requested for vesting?
There would be, it's hard to kind of say that in very general terms. The fenestration requirements would likely be different. How the building, and I'm not an expert on this in this particular site plan, but there would be, there'd be certain fenestration requirements, for example. There would be certain requirements regarding entrances to the street that may not exist on the current development plan and wouldn't exist in the current zoning. Things like that, kinds of design issues would be different in the new zoning district as compared to what they currently have approved.
Okay, I think that's all my questions for right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman. Rist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thanks for giving us a chance to get all kind of smart about vested rights stuff. So thanks for the chance to read up on that. I have one question sort of similar to Councilmember Baker. So my question is just this process of making this determination. So as I read the statute, it says that I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Biker or for staff, but as I read this, it said that the duration is typically 2 years for vested rights, right? But the statute does say that local governments may provide for rights to be vested for more than 2, not more than 5, where warranted. And so I guess my question is, did the applicant or staff, who warranted that this condition sort of meets those examples that are in statute? I'm just curious about that process.
Let me start with that first. So the existing site plan was approved in late March of 2023, and site plans last 4 years in Durham. So they already are vested they already have rights under that site plan to 2027. So in my conversations, I believe it was with Lance earlier this spring or this fall, it just simply made sense that if they're going to go ahead and request for the whole 5 years, because then that's buying them an extra 2.5 years.
Because 2 years would simply be shorter than
asking for 2 years of vesting would get them literally nothing.
Less than they would get that they currently have.
So. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my recollection, Councilmember Rist, I have a hard time remembering what I had for breakfast, but my recollection of 10 years ago when we had a vested right determination for Davis Park, that was for 5 years. And again, that was, I think, in the wake of the Great Recession.
So that's simply at the discretion of the staff. It's not like there has to be some kind of
It was a conversation between Mr. Chernow and I as to what made sense to request.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a pretty reasonable ask. I think the remedy that's being proposed here for whatever happened in COVID and other unforeseeable circumstances is reasonable. The trajectory and character of that neighborhood is well established. We've already approved a site plan that keeps faith with that already established character and trajectory. There's nothing particularly controversial with me about this. We can read the tea leaves. We know that there are some changes coming, but as of tonight, I don't know what's ultimately going to be the standards, and I will not hold you responsible for that. We're trying to hold out and see if we can get better. I think this is a reasonable fix. I'll be supporting it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One more comment. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say also, I want to thank the applicant, Mr. Biker. I did drive the site today, and you're absolutely right. High quality development, absolutely walkable, bikeable, yeah, a good model for, and as the commercial comes in, very much a mixed use and yeah, high quality development. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance approved statutory vested rights for site plan D2200108 Davis Park Pot G with an expiry date for the site plan of December 2, 2029.
Moved as read.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Close the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. And we will now move to our last item, item number 31, street closing, permanent closing of 2,899 square feet of Victory Lane. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Leah Larkins. I'm a senior planner in the planning department. This street closing request, SC 23-00005, is for the permanent closure of portions of a cul-de-sac bulb on Victory Lane in the Fletcher's Ridge subdivision that served as a temporary cul-de-sac until Victory Lane could be extended to connect the Phillips Valley subdivision to the south. The areas proposed for closure will be recombined with adjacent parcels to create a 0.18 acre, 1.06 acre, 0.19 acre, and a 17.96 acre parcel, as shown in Attachment C on the street closing and recombination plat. The new parcels will comply with the requirements of the subdivision's Plan Development Residential 1.964 or PDR 1.964 zoning. The applicant wishes to close the portion of the street that formed the cul-de-sac because the extension of Victory Lane is now complete and the street now connects the two subdivisions. NC General Statute Section 160A 299 requires that the governing body make two findings prior to closing any street or alley. These are, number one, closing the street or alley is not contrary to the public interest, and number two, no individual owning property in the vicinity of the street or alley or in the subdivision in which it is located should be deprived of reasonable means of ingress or egress to that property. Section 13.5.1, access of the UDO, requires that every buildable lot have access to a public or private street that is designed, constructed, and maintained to the appropriate standards. Section 3.241C3 requires that the applicant provide responses to 5 factors. These are, number one, does this cause a parcel to lack frontage along a public right-of-way? The answer is no. Number two, how the parcels are accessed other than from closed right-of-way. They have access off of Victory Lane. Number three, how the closing of right-of-way impacts current or potential connectivity within a development or neighborhood. The connectivity is assured because Victory Lane was extended to connect these two subdivisions. The bulb of the cul-de-sac was to allow for a turnaround while that construction was taking place. Number four, what are the circumstances that warrant the closing? If connectivity is negatively impacted, it's not negatively impacted. And number five, what is the public interest in closing the right-of-way? It is to allow that connection to proceed that connects the two subdivisions. This request was submitted to service agencies for review and comment. All substantive comments were addressed during the review of the case. That means the plat has been reviewed by the appropriate agencies and departments of the city. Staff finds no adverse impact to connectivity or access with this partial street closing. The section of Victory Lane is the outer portion of the bulb of a cul-de-sac that no longer exists because the street no longer terminates at this location but has been extended to connect two subdivisions. The section of the Victory Lane right-of-way is not maintained by the city and exists only as a paper street because the cul-de-sac is no longer needed as a turnaround. It does not affect connectivity between public streets or does not negatively affect because its only function was to provide a turnaround with the extension of Victory Lane. The lots adjacent to the street will maintain the same access, but will have now access to the larger street network made possible by the extension of Victory Lane. Staff finds that closing this section of right-of-way will not adversely affect the public and will positively affect connectivity in the neighborhood. And we're available for questions.
Thank you. You've heard the staff report. Are there any questions for staff? All right, at this time, I will declare the public hearing open. Mr. Biker, how much time do you need?
Well, I had a lengthy PowerPoint, a 10-minute speech prepared on this item, but I think I'll waive that and just see if the council has any questions. I'm here tonight representing D.R. Horton, and just want to thank Ms. Larkins for an outstanding, thorough staff report that explained everything very carefully. All this is closing the sides of a cul-de-sac bulb because the neighborhoods have already been interconnected, which is a very good thing in my opinion. So we appreciate your support, or we respectfully ask for your support, and we appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. I don't have any other speakers, so therefore I'll declare the public hearing closed and back before the council. Colleagues, any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, my only question we obviously want stub outs to future development. I've never seen something like this before. Has this come up before? And would we anticipate this coming up every time there's sort of a stub out in a development that would reach out to future developments?
So we see different things, different times. The UDO does require that stub out to permit connectivity either soon after the subdivision is completed or in the future. We occasionally will see construction easements on the next property or in the next subdivision. This one happened to happen on the subdivision that was being constructed. So we don't see these bulbs being closed very often. Usually it's a temporary construction easement between property owners, so it's not a public right-of-way that has to come all the way to council.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to permanently close portions of the cul-de-sac that previously served as the terminus of Victory Lane, totaling 2,899 square feet.
Move to close it. Second.
There was a lot going on there. It's been moved and properly second, and a few other things. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. And that is the end of our agenda tonight. And we will adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. We have one more other matter. Madam Freeman, Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to just state what I stated at the work session around some letters that were received by residents about their water, and I just want to make sure that they're aware. The city manager shared that the program was discovering and identifying lead pipes in private and publicly owned areas, and just want to make sure that the residents who received it, if you feel like there's any concern that your home, if it was built or identified as built prior to 1988, and you have any questions, please feel free to call Durham One Call to have your water inspected or your lines inspected, or to get more information about inspections, making sure that your home and your water lines are clear or safe. The number you can call is 919-560-1200, and again, that's 919-560-1200. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There are no other matters. Colleagues, thank you all for a really good meeting, and we are adjourned at 9:25 p.m.